Future Hacker Life Path Future.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Future Hackers. Today, we're going to talk to Nitesh Jain, the founder and CEO of B Singular Academy, board member of Harvard Alumni Entrepreneurs, ambassador of Singularity University in New Delhi, founder of Ashoka University, and managing director of Best Group. Thank you so much for being with us today. You have such an impressive career around education and exponential technologies, and you're involved in themes around next generation disruptions and the impact of innovation for our future. Could you just tell us a little about how you got there?
Hi, Maria, and thank you very much for having me on your show. Well, the journey has been really interesting. I come from a small town based in North India, and since I was a child, I was always fascinated with different kind of technologies and trying to figure out what is happening and what I can do to contribute. I moved to a larger city, and when I got into my work, I was always having a passion for education. And the first venture which got fueled by this passion was purely from my personal pain point as a customer, where I could not find a high quality childcare for my own child, my first daughter. And that's where the journey started. And we set up one of India's initial childcare chain. So we took care of young children while the mothers wanted to go to work. What I found was that while everybody was pushing in our country where women should get to work, nobody was even talking about what kind of difficulties they have leaving their young children behind and who's going to take care of them except the nannies or the grandmothers. And that did not give the children basic education, which was important at that young age. And that's where we got started into education. Well, I've been involved in manufacturing businesses, as you know, and high technology businesses. So what I again noticed was, as an employer, my HR used to always complain that, these young people who they get to interview, they are lacking skills which are not fitting to the job profile they are interviewing for. And that made me wonder that what are these guys doing in the university and schools? It's like, you're paying for a business class ticket and sitting in a middle row, back seat in an economy class, and even have to pay for your own water. So they pay the fee, they go and spend time in university and schools, but they're not getting education, which is important for them to be successful in their life. And that's what really pained me. And from there, I got involved with Singularity University, and being there, I was completely surprised that at that age, we had to come and learn about what kind of technologies and the impact is going to be there, which is when B Singular was born. I created my own personal massive transformative purpose that I need to change the way education is taught. Yeah, that's how we got started. And the idea of B Singular is with a vision to disrupt tech education and to prepare the next generation students by skilling them so that they can use exponential technologies to create the future and not just remain users of it. That has been my journey so far. I hope we can meet the purpose and do something good for the next gen.
This is very impressive, Nitesh, as most people complain about education quality, but don't really do anything about it. And you actually took matters on your own hands and went after it and created your own school. And also it's actually bringing to India educations that are, globally and innovative. So, I want to dig into this education piece a little later on. But before that, I'd like to discuss with you the basic problems that, both India and Brazil faces today when it comes to population illiteracy, access to technology, and, those basic infrastructure gaps. On the same time, we're facing this amazing tech evolution globally when it comes to artificial intelligence and renewable energy, health tech, ed tech. So how do you see us overcoming those gaps and actually bringing knowledge closer to the population?
What I find is that there is a significant gap in basic understanding itself. And this is across the countries, communities, age brackets. When we are talking of India, We have a population of over 1.2 billion people, and the sheer number of people we have in our nation causes a problem where decent education at all levels, all regions, villages, towns is complex. It's complex to deliver. Therefore, when you ask this question, I always keep telling this, that there's a huge digital divide, as we call it, and this digital divide actually is causing a lot of problems as well, where the education is not being imparted to the level it could be. And we need to have some kind of a solution to remove these gaps so that the illiteracy, as you mentioned, can be lowered, because access to technology is going to suffer if the infrastructure is not getting improved. So if you look at the Indian education system, which is constitutionally guaranteeing education based on several central and state schemes, that is one bit. Another bit, you see that despite being the fastest growing mobile market in the world, we still have significant gap for accessing internet, for example, right? And this gap is completely lopsided when you compare urban areas and rural areas. With most of Indian population still living in rural areas, depending on agriculture, infrastructure gap in rural areas is causing a problem. There are ways to solve it, because you're asking a question as to how we can overcome this. Well, there are ways to solve it. I guess there are a lot of schemes. I mean, I have spoken previously also with some publications here, and I said, when COVID hit, a massive shift happened, and this divide actually significantly grew, which was already unmanageable, and we went to a different orbit. Governments have to be prepared, communities have to be prepared to launch several initiatives which could revolve around subsidizing the internet plans for the students, helping to waive off internet charges. I mean, there are a lot of countries in Africa where I keep reading that they also waived internet charges, so that accessibility is more. Because look at a poor family who's in a village. I mean, they did not have a mobile phone connectivity. Even if they had, they only used to take a very small data pack so that it could just suffice to the needs of the family. But here, when the entire shift is going to happen on accessibility of education, we have to have some kind of schemes which can help overcome the difficulties that the students are having. We could have television as a medium where education can be propagated to a higher degree, so that we don't devoid the population which is in the rural areas of staying illiterate. So these are some challenges. These are some areas or examples through which challenges can be overcome. So this is what I feel, and I think similar situation could be also in countries like Brazil, where a lot of population is still not earning as much. They are facing difficulties. And I guess if these basic infrastructure issues are taken care, there are a lot of providers like us who are willing to reach out to students in rural areas in these countries far and wide to make sure that they get quality education like city students would be having.
As much as COVID forced the shift to digital, most part of our children had to stop studying due to the lack of resources, which is very concerning to everyone, right? So let's talk about the quality of education, please. So it seems our education model is still so archaic, in which we are taught to learn the right answer to the questions. In contrast, we have the example of Israel, which is known to have the secret to innovation is to start young. So to basically encourage imagination, experiment, to accept failure, to test, and to encourage our children basically to experience chaos, to feel comfort with ambiguity. So do you see this model as the path, as the evolution to education? And how could we adapt to such a different teaching style for most people?
My thinking on these topics is that first is that the education environment is becoming highly dynamic. The kind of change which we are seeing is coming more from a societal shift, because the society is looking at solutions at a very fast pace on the problems. And what I feel is that the outcomes will be driven from the societal pressure a lot. So we are having a problem in our society. We are quickly looking for a solution, trying to get the solution and go forward. Education is not changing at a pace at which the overall system and overall economies are driving. I feel that, again, coming from an Israel-based system, or what they are doing in Israel, is we need to have a very open learning environment, something where we are not too specific to the books, but more specific to doing, skilling, having a hands-on approach, and trying to have a project-based education and not something which we just read, remember, go for the exams, write the exams, and don't even know how the whole thing functions. Focus on innovation, observation, optimism, and creativity is going to be the key. If you look at Israel, they are really focused on innovation, and innovation actually starts at home. Small hacks they keep doing, and parents keep encouraging the children. They fail, kids learn, they observe what happened wrong. They again try to do something better. They keep the optimism intact and try to again look it from a different angle, be creative about it, and the solution eventually comes up. So this is something which I feel has to be the way to go forward as far as education is concerned. We don't need to measure on marks, but we need to definitely measure on the quality of the ideas. The interviews which people give for jobs don't need to be on the amount of degrees in a file. I believe strongly that they need to be based on what kind of projects they have done, what they have learned from their failures, and then try to take the people. I can tell you from personal experience, which I keep telling the HR in our companies, that if somebody has done something and if he has failed, don't put a cross to it that he was a failure. It's amazing, because he would have learned something, she would have learned something which is going to be beneficial, from just the sheer mindset shift the person had, because he tried to do something, the person did not succeed, but he eventually understood what went wrong, and he would never repeat that again. So this is something which is going to be critical. 2-year, 4-year degrees are not probably going to be valid as far as I am concerned going forward. We need small modules which are easily accessible. Person is feeling the desire to learn something. He or she does not need to have a job to go back to the campus, enroll into an education system, and come out of the 3, 5, 6 months or 2 years. They need to have small modules. They feel the need, go, learn, and come back. So if you look at our model of education at B Singular, it's exactly based on that. We have 10, 15 hours of coaching, and kids are able to do a project. We have a 60 to 70 hours of coaching. They will get exposure to all the exponential technologies they want. And then there are 10, 12 hours of coaching material which is available. They can just come, engage with an instructor, learn something what they want to learn, go and do something. So I guess, a combination of all these factors is going to help change the way education has to be imparted going forward.
Yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense to me as well, Nitesh. So we're coming to the end of our first episode, but stay tuned as we continue this conversation on the following one with Nitesh Jain.
Future Hacker. Life. Path. Future.